Okay, this is Kean University Piano 2, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than usual. I'm going to tape the whole month of September, and there's a reason for it. There's some people who are behind, but there are many who are way ahead, and they have nothing to do, because when they get the first assignment correct, and I'm still with the others on that same first, I'd like them to go ahead. So what I'm going to give you is the whole month of September, and you'll have everything you need. Just refer to this one video for this month. Let's see how this works. This is brand new for me. I've always done them weekly since March, but let's give it a shot. So the first thing we're going to look at is, you already know in essential repertoire you have to do page 23, and that I already taped for you. But after this week, we're going right to page 7 in essential repertoire. It's the minuet. So get that up, and you'll be able to see how that one sounds. Minuet, page 7, and we're in the essential repertoire book. And it sounds like this. A minuet is a dance in 3/4 time. This isn't so dance-like as much as it is just a graceful 3/4 time. Little Krieger ditty, which he's not that famous Krieger, but this sounds very Mozarty and very Haydn-like. You'll like it. It sounds like this. It's in the key of A minor. A minor. So it's all the white keys for A minor, and G is sharp, the raised 7 for harmonic minor. So you'll hear A minor immediately. The first measure outlines A minor. Right away sets up A minor. And there's a little bit of polyphonic things going on. You have the left hand. So it has scale-like passages that can stand on its own also. But this is the way this sounds. No pedal. I want you to look at measure 7. The left hand plays a D. It goes to an E. That E has a stem on it going up, showing that it's a different voice. It's a tenor voice. So if you would think bass tenor, the bass is playing D. E is being played in the tenor voice while there's a rest in the bass voice. While you're holding that E, comes the E in the bass. So you hear them at the same time. So it sounds like this. So here's the measure. I'll continue this time. This is number 9. Sequence. There it is again in measure 15. You hold the tenor voice. You think of the piano as voices: soprano, alto, tenor, bass. So the tenor is playing this, the bass is singing this, the tenor is singing the G while the bass is resting, and then the G. So here's that measure. And as usual, we return to the melody in measure 17. Here it is again. Okay, so that's the minuet, and that's what you'll be working on after you finish your initial page 23 of the essentials. Now, I'm going to stay in the essentials because I'm going to skip to the next one we'll be doing, and it's going to be not till the end of September, but I'm going to publish it now. It's on page 122 and 123. Let me get that up here, and we can look at that. Even though it's a 3/4 of a month away. So for those who are ahead, you can begin this already. Now, this is a little Bartók. You played Bartók last year, but you were busy with the technique of Bartók and never got to understand and appreciate the intelligence of this whole thing. What Bartók loved to do was take a simple little melody. Look at the simple melody on page 122. That's the whole melody. Sounds like D minor. We're in the key of C, but we're not really in the key of C. It just has no sharps or flats. It's rooted in D. So what Bartók liked to do is take the same melody over and over and over and change the left hand. Reharmonization. For you jazz buffs, that's what jazz people do. Constantly reharmonizing simple melodies. So here's the way this one sounds. You're going to enjoy this. Open fifth. Now here's the melody. Now here's the same melody. Second page. We're not getting to the second page in, well, we may, but I wasn't planning on it. So let's look at now measure 29. More reharmonization. Big surprise. B flat. In measure 40, you'll see two railroad tracks there. It means come to an abrupt halt. And then continue. Now we're in the key of F. So when the time comes and you're up to it, very marcato, very marked out, allegro, lots of energy. It's a great piece. And you'll really understand Bartók when you finish this piece, because he just simply reharmonized. It would be like this. Bartók gets a hold of it. Or same melody, 1,000 different ways, but with all different harmonies. It's very, very highly intellectual, very highly thought out. I want you to enjoy it, appreciate it, and understand it. So let's get back to next week, which is the week of September 8th. You're going to have finished page 144. I want to spend 2 minutes on pedaling. I'd like you to look at page 144 with me, and I'm going to hear you play this. Some of you may not have a pedal, so I understand it if you can't do it. But pedaling is not what a lot of people do. Most people pedal incorrectly, that I hear. So here's the first 4 measures. You should all have this by now, because you had a week on it. But when you pedal, you lift up when the chord changes. So you can see my foot, I think. Up. Stays down until I hit this D. It comes up. Still down. Up. Stays down until I hit the next bass note. So, here's the way it actually sounds. And so on. If you pedal it wrong, you'll hear one of 2 things happening. Here's if you lift instead of if you keep it down, you'll hear this. If you lift too early. You'll hear a chop. If you don't pedal correctly, you'll hear a blur. You'll hear a mess. So it's up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up, 2, 3, 4. So get that in your head. So you finish page 144. When you finish page 144, this week we're going to page 128 and 129. And that's going to be good for the next week. We'll stay with that. And here's 128. This is a fun piece. Girl Lit, you've probably played a couple of Girl Lit. Matter of fact, the Girl Lit pieces in the Essential Repertoire book, that's what you're playing, yeah. That's a Girl Lit. Very Mozart, very Haydn, very early Beethoven. So this is a fun one, it's syncopated. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's a real nice piece. I'll play it without the repeats. And as usual, in that period, you play in the 1, the key of G. But the second part in measure 9 goes to the 5, it goes to the dominant. Very, very typical. Very much the norm. And eventually it's going to find its way back to G, 1, 5, 1. That's the overall scope. So here's the way it sounds. Scale. Now it goes to the 5 in measure 9. Chords, chords, chords. You feel it going back to the 1. Scale. And that's the morning salute. On page 129, we have a little German dance. Very, very Beethoven-y. You know, Beethoven had 3 periods. The first period was what you're about to hear. First period was like, where it's just kind of a melody with harmony, very much like Mozart, very much like the classicists, as opposed to the second period, third period, where there's a lot of anger, a lot of banging on the piano. So this is a German dance, and he loved his open fifths. In measure 5, you're going to hear a real dissonance. If you haven't studied it yet, there's something called the pedal point. So the D is the pedal point. So no matter what the chord is, the D is there. Doesn't matter what the chord is, it's D. So you're going to feel a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, and release. Sounds like this. Now here it is. Resolution. Tension. Release. I'm at number 5 again. And as usual, as I said a couple of minutes ago, we go to the 5. We go to A. Here's the 7 in measure 13. And that's the key of D, but we went to the 5 just temporarily. It's not even tonicization, it's just the key of A for a split second. So you practice that. That's allegro. That's a good tempo. But when you practice, high fingers, slapped keys, get the left hand, no D-A-D, D-A-C sharp, A. Left hand's a cinch. That's going to happen over a period of the next couple of weeks. Page 128 and 129, you're not going to have to know really till the 18th. Now, after we do that, we're going to go to September 22nd, page 146 and 147. Let's look at 146 and 147. These are exercises. All these exercises are meant to be played slow, very slowly, and then gradually pick up speed as you go. So page 146, it's just left hand, just C and G or G and G, that's all it is. And the right hand plays inversions. Make absolutely certain you're playing 1, 2, 5. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. So here's the way this sounds. Now, I know you could use other fingerings, 2, because first inversion chords I have 1, 2 in a left hand. Now the left hand plays 5, 2, 1. 5, 2, 1. That's a little obligato, something repeating, something recurring. And the right hand. Very simple, but it's the left hand you're concerned with. You know what that's called, right? When the minor third becomes a major third, picardy third. So here's the last two measures. Always a breath of fresh air. That's what a picardy third is. Okay, so that was 146 and 147. And then finally, page 151 is going to be at the end of the month. So we're going to get to this March at the end of the month. The midterm will be following that. I'll let you know the date of the midterm. I do know it. I don't have it in front of me. I'll announce it. I'll probably put it when I send an email. So, page 151, March. Brisk and bright, alla marcia, which is like a march. Alla, like march. So it sounds like this. Cute little piece, not hard. Kohler was a concert pianist, and he wrote a lot of piano music, mostly for his students. Here's the next part. As usual, as the theme of today has been, the middle part goes to the 5. So here it is. And now you're back to the beginning and measure 9. The slurs in measure 11. Ta, 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 ta. When you play a slur, or throughout this whole piece of slur, as a matter of fact, it starts the first two notes. Ba, yep, ba, yep. You drop into the first note of the slur, and no matter how many notes the slurs have, at the end, you lift. So it's da, yep, da, 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 yep, da, da, yep. For you instrumentalists who tongue on a wind instrument, you go ta, ta, you go ta, ta. On the piano, we can't do that, so we try to imitate that. So you go down with an emphasis, and on the way up, you catch the note at the last second. So watch. There's an automatic, inferred, implied accent on a slur. It's a slight accent, unless it says accent, like on measure 3. 3 or 4 have accents built in. But if it weren't there, you'd still have emphasis. And so on. That's all the music for September, those pieces. I don't think I missed any. And now we're going to look at the scales. I'm just going to get you started on that. I asked you to look at C for this week. Now we're going to add D. But I want to show you some basic things for the whole semester and forever. This scale sheet, very, 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 very important. So everybody knows your C scale. You'll know your C scale. But we're going to go through all these chords. So let me do D. And let me tell you this. When you play an arpeggio, for example, a C arpeggio, in the left hand is 5, 4, 2, 1. By the way, make sure that you're not jerking your arm around and doing silly motions. Just reach for the note. Just reach for the note. Now, it's always 5, 4, 2, 1 in the left hand. Right hand's always 1, 2, 3, 5. But when you play a scale and the arpeggio has an elevated third, So for example, D major has D, F sharp, A, D. Since it's above the F, which would be 4, if you were playing F, it would be 4, but it's an elevated third, so it goes up to 3. So the fingerings are 5, 3, 2, 1. Look carefully at my scale sheet. I always note that. So if you simply look at measure 25, you'll see I don't write fingerings in because they're all the same as C, but there is a 3. The chords and their inversions, make sure you play always 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 3, 5 in the right hand. That's all on measure 7. Measure 7 have the fingerings. The left hand is 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 2, 1. Okay? Now, I want to go over these chords. I think I'm going to start in C. I want to go over every single chord. So measure 8, just follow me on measure 8. C major, C minor, you flat the 3rd, C diminished, you flat the 5th, C augmented, you raise the 5th, C6, you simply add the 6th note of the C major scale. That's all it is. To make it a minor 6, it's an E flat. To make it a C major 7, you play C, E, G, but you add the 7th note of the scale, which is B. Very pretty chord, one of the nicer jazz chords, major 7. 7, you flat the 7. That's a dominant 7. You've had theory and you all know that. And then you lower the 3rd, you get a C minor 7. C, E flat, G, B flat. Lower the 5th, you have C minor 7, flat 5, also called a half diminished 7. And at the end of the line, you simply flat the 7 and you get a full C diminished 7. C, E flat, G flat, B double flat, which is really C diminished. It looks like a C diminished 6. I've seen jazz fake books where they write in C diminished 6 because what you're really seeing and hearing is the 6th. But it's been lowered twice from the B to the B flat to the B double flat. So C, D, E, G, and A, those scales all have the exact same fingerings. F and B we'll talk about. I want to finish these up very soon, so here's a schedule for you. This week you'll have done C and D. You're going to start E. The following week you'll finish E, and you'll start F. By the end of September 29th and October 2nd, it will be a G scale. So C, D, E, F, beginning G at the end of the month. So work these scales. You already had them. This isn't new. I want to start the flat scales with you, the black key scales. I believe I covered everything now. That's everything for the month. So you people who are way ahead, now you have plenty to practice. You people who are behind, just stay with the program. I told you what the dates are. So for this coming Tuesday and Friday, you finish 144, finish page 23, that one. You'll start page 7 that I did with you, and you'll start page 128 and 129. The scales are C and D, and you begin E. That's this week's assignment. As you go through the month, just simply refer to the video and keep it handy and watch it. I noticed less people that are in the class watched it last week, and I know who those people are because the people who aren't doing well, I guarantee the people who haven't been trying to use this as a tutorial. This is a wonderful way to go. This is, I wish I had this when I was in college. I used to go home and try to remember everything. Here it is. Use it, make use of it. I'll see you next week.